All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of My Hope is Built On. We're so excited again as each week we're getting all these special and creative guests that are coming in here with a lot of stuff to share with us about their hope. And this week we got a special friend and a special guest. Her name is Marie Carrillo. I probably said that even bad, even when I rolled my R's. But anyways, we've known Marie, I don't know, quite, I feel like we've known you for quite some time. Yeah. Even you worked in the office at Valley View while David was in elementary school. Yep. So that's incredible, just to think that that's been knowing you that long. And so it's really exciting to have you on today. And I know that we've had times to talk and we've heard some of your personal stories and personal journey of life. You served with me when I was a youth pastor at Heart of the Canyons Church. And so it's just been exciting. And I know that we've kept in touch, even though we're not going to the same churches and we're not even bumping into each other anymore at any of the schools or anything like that. But we've managed to stay in touch and stay in contact. And like I said, I'm just really excited to see and hear. Oh, and I was fortunate enough to even officiate your daughter's wedding too. So
yes.
That was really
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that was so cool. Anyways, it's just a really crazy thing. And so we're excited and we're happy to do this interview today. So David.
Yeah.
Why don't you do the honors? Why don't you ask Marie the questions?
All right. Well, first off, before we get into the deep questions, we want to let the audience know a little bit more about who you are. Who is Marie? So why don't you go ahead and just give a backstory about, I don't know, who you are, what you've been up to, the new things in life that are happening. Like I said earlier before recording, you're a world traveler now, pretty much.
Well, okay. So I have 3 children. Let's start off with a little bit about myself right now. I have 3 children and grown-up children and 5 beautiful grandbabies.
Awesome.
Love them to death. And let's see, 15 years ago, I was a surrogate. So I have that one. And I have been involved in the past, like Dan said, I was involved with the high school youth at Heart of the Canyons, helping out. Right. I've been involved with a lot of high school youth with doing teaching Bible study at Camp Scott and Camp Scudder. There's a detention centers for young girls. Yep. And I also helped out a lot with Chrysalis. And that's kind of like I don't want to say it's a camp, but I guess it's like Emmaus, but where you kids come in, youth kids come in from the ages of 15 to 18, and you have 4 days with them and you just love on them and teach them about the Bible, etc. So I was been very involved with the youth throughout my years, I guess, as an adult. And right now, recently, I'm retired. I used to work for a local school district as an executive secretary. And I heard 2 years ago that I was retiring and everything just fell like right into place. And I have been blessed to be able to be at home, but I'm also, there's a new journey for me. I know now what I'm doing, okay, but there's a new journey along the road. But I just came back. I was in Nicaragua in April for a whole month and with my aunt and my family. Like I mentioned, I was at Palm Desert for a week. And now I just went to the beach last week for glamping. Like I mentioned, it was 5 girls in an RV. I don't know, Lord help us there, but we made it through. Okay, we enjoyed it. And that's it. He has provided. And I was going, because my belief is in the Lord, and as well, you'll hear my testimony as we speak more, that he has provided, and I can't complain and things that are happening now in my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Well, with that, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you. So obviously this podcast is called My Hope is Built On. So we're going to ask you what your hope is built on. But before diving too much, why don't you define what hope really means to you?
Okay. I think for me, hope means having the glass, seeing a glass half full than half empty. Okay. More like always seeing the positive in things. I guess I like to see it more as, if I can see life that way, then that gives me more hope. And then it gives me more peace in my life. So instead of seeing something negative is going on, thinking of what hope entails in me is that kind of, if that explains it a little bit.
Yeah.
In layman's words.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's awesome. So then that goes to the next question. What is your hope built on?
Okay. So being that said is that my hope is built on, because now that I know, with time and growing into the Lord, that my hope is built on my faith, my faith in the Lord. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not easy. That was not an easy thing to attain. It was, it's still a work in progress. And I do know that growing up as a young child, as a latchkey kid, and not having a dad there, and my mom working all the time, and my mom actually being diagnosed with a mental illness. So that dealt a lot of the factor in there, that I ended up more like helping and taking care of my little sister growing during the process, feeding and all this stuff. But anyway, as a young kid, my mom, we never did church. We didn't pray together. And, but I can see now the steps of where God worked in my life. Okay. So I'm going to keep talking. And if you guys tell me to stop,
absolutely.
Just stop. Okay.
Yeah.
But I do recall that at like 5 years old, my mom had me live with this older lady, Rosella. I lived there for 5 to 7 till like 2 years. Because of our boundaries of the school, she wanted me to go to the school. So I lived with this lady. Well, this old lady is the one that gave my first Bible. Wow. So she was the one that actually told me about God, told me about Jesus. Okay. So that was my first foundation right there. And then probably like around 8 or something around that, I remember my mom telling me about, because I didn't have a dad and picture and everything. And I did have a sister involved there. We didn't have any father figure. And she told me that I was a product of rape. Okay. So I grew up from then on knowing and thinking that I was unwanted, and I felt unwanted. Okay. That I was unwanted, that I was the ugly duckling, and my little sister, gorgeous. And she's always been gorgeous, a little girl. And so I just kind of grew up that way. And so I think that's why I have such a love for the youth. Okay. Because I went through challenge, went through stuff, and I just relate there.
Yeah.
Okay. So about 10 years old, my mom and I, my sister and I, we all went to Nicaragua for the first time. My mom's family's from Nicaragua. Okay. And I met my grandmother, and I refused to come home. I just didn't want to be a part of this lifestyle. So I lived there for a couple of years, 2 years, came back home. And I remember around 15, I was rebellious. I got involved with drugs. I ran away from home, and I was literally shipped to Nicaragua. Wow. Put on a plane. You're going to your grandmother's. Okay. Yeah. Which was my saving grace, because I remember being there, and I got involved with a youth group there, and I just blossomed more there a little bit, knowing about the Lord, which I hadn't had in all these years. And then that was the first time I ever had a dream from God, that I recognized that I had a dream from God. Yeah. And I was about 15 years old. I came back, was around, I think 17. And again, not getting along with my mom, nothing to do with drugs. I was doing well and everything, but we had our issues, little things here and there. Yeah. And I was kicked out of the house. So I then moved in.
How old?
17.
Okay.
Wow.
And then I went to go live with a friend of mine and her family. And I started working and met my husband, or my ex-husband at the time now. And I was 17 when I got involved with him, had my first child at 18, which I do not recommend to anybody. That's why you do not go down that road. Yeah. It was a rough marriage. Okay. A rough 28 years of marriage, but I know it was rough because we didn't have God as the center. I mean, it was not that. And I remember crying and spending a lot of time with the Lord and just saying, I'm unhappy. But I kept saying, fix him.
Yeah.
I don't recall ever saying, fix me.
Yeah.
Okay. And anyway, we've been divorced for 6 years, but right before I got divorced, we were divorced, I was invited to go to this Emmaus retreat, okay, for adults. And what it is basically, it's like what I mentioned, I was involved with Chrysalis for the youth that they go to this retreat. But before I could help with that, I had to experience it. And the adult version was the Emmaus. So when I get there, I had this little chip on my shoulder, you know, why are you here? Well, I'm here because I'm going to help the youth and I got it, whatever. Okay. Well, I was truly humbled, and the Lord humbled me and was working on me and what I needed to do with me, fix with me. Okay. And I remember they asked, the last day they asked, what are you taking from this? And I remember saying, I will serve God no matter what. Well, 1 month later, I was tested. Okay. 1 month later, I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease, Guillain-Barré, which affects the nervous system and it causes paralyzation, and then it goes into respiratory failure. Well, before I even knew this, that what it was yet, okay, during this process of a 2-week span, I was in such excruciating pain. I mean, I couldn't walk. I was paralyzed half my feet. I was drinking out of a straw. The pain was so much that I remember going to my son, taking him to the emergency room, and they're giving me morphine for this pain. And the pain's not going away. And they're saying, I think there's something wrong with your head. I think you're crazy. You know, they didn't really say crazy, but I think you need to see a specialist. Okay. And anyway, I remember nights going in the shower, pouring hot water, steaming hot water, and crying from this pain. And I'm pleading to God, okay, if you just will take this pain away, I will serve you no matter what. I don't care if I'm paralyzed, but I will serve you. And it just gets emotional because, you know that he's there, but in those moments that you're in this desperation, you're like, okay, is he really hearing me? Okay. Anyway, within a 2-week span, one of the things I was doing during that time, obviously I was asking for prayers, people to pray for me. Okay. I immediately reached out, and that's my to-go now. I mean, if something goes on, I'm asking for prayers because I have seen miracles. But another thing I was doing was praising him. And I would praise him by singing. And I think I've told you one of my favorite songs is Praise You in the Storm. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I just, and within 2 weeks span, I went to a neurologist, which did a spinal tap, figured out what it was. And she said I had all the symptoms except for the respiratory failure. And what saved me from that, from going into that, was that because of such pain, I was also having headaches, and I would sit up, and that kept me from not going back and going into that respiratory. But anyway, God brought me through that. And he's brought us through so many things. But for me personally, like 3 years ago, I think 3 years ago is kind of like when I really started. So 6 years in my divorce, I'm going through this process of being alone and lonely. And so I remember 3 years ago going through like this depression, deep depression, okay, and loneliness. And, you know, my kids are already getting they're all there, and I'm alone here, and, you know, poor me, and I'm crying in the shower, you know, Lord help me, you know, I'm feeling this way. And so then I started to connect more with God. Okay. I started to really spend time with more believers, and start speaking to them, and going deeper, I think, in my relationship, because I've always said, okay, there's a God. Okay. But I never really went deeper into having a relationship with what I call Father God. Okay. I mean, it wasn't until then that I actually ever called him Father. I mean, now I can easily call him Papa, and that's easy to me. Okay. But growing up without a father figure, I mean, I've always felt like I had to protect myself. I've had to defend myself. I've had to take care of myself, figure out the problems for myself, which I took into my marriage, you know, it just all trickle affected into there. So about 3 years ago, going through this deep depression, I was reaching out to people, and I had a couple believers, I think 4 different times, tell me that you need to be still. And I remember going, okay, what is this? Like the last time they told me to be still, I go, well, what is God telling you? What is he telling me? I've stopped doing a lot of overtime. I've stopped doing a lot of community service. I've stopped. What is it?
Yeah.
So someone told me, it goes, you need to spend quiet time with God. Your mind, and probably like a lot of us people out here, our minds go race all the time. We have all these thoughts going through our heads, especially your kids. You have to go this, you have to do that, you have to work, you have to do this. Okay. Now, if you have problems, all these little problems start coming into your head. All these little thoughts are coming in, and they constantly were bombarding me.
Yeah.
So what they told me is that you needed to spend time and be able to get those thoughts under control with the Lord. Okay. So when I'm in my bedroom on the floor, I would get there and I just go, okay, here I am, God, here I am. And I remember going through 2 weeks of hell, 2 weeks. Okay. I would cry going, I can't stop these noises. You know, it's not like I heard voices. Oh, go hurt yourself or go do this or go do that. Okay. But it was constantly. And I would just cry. And I said, well, if you could just take away these thoughts, just take them away. Okay. And I remember probably after 2 weeks, I'm at work one day and I'm just sitting there and I'm like going, wow, it's quiet. Why is it quiet?
Wow.
And I realized my thoughts are quiet. Okay. And that's 2 years ago. I think, well, maybe probably 2.5 years ago, 2.5 years ago. But to this day, I can be quiet and I can just close it, and the mouth, it's quiet. It's solid. It's solitude, quietness. Okay. But that's how I know the difference of when it's my voice, when it's God's voice, when it's not his voice. Okay. That's coming to me. And anyway, so about 2 years ago, things even started getting even better and better. I mean, it's like they start morphing even more and more. I started spending more time with God. I started wanting to hear him speak to me. I started journaling. And that's when I heard, you're retiring. Okay. and I'm like, that's like 53. I'm going to retire at 55. I can't retire at 55. I have to work. Okay. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, all right. How come can you prove to me? Can you give me no, I said an affirmation or confirm me some way that I'm not going crazy here.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I hear him say, check your health insurance. So I go into work and I go, okay, so tell me about my health insurance when I retire. Oh, if you retire at 55 in the school year, there's a clause in your contract and your health insurance is paid 100% until your age of 65. And I'm like, I can go work anywhere. I don't have to worry about health insurance. I can just, if that happens, I can go and I can get my pension and still work. Okay. So that's another story I can get going on, anyway. I mean, he's provided anyway. So, he has provided to the point that I honestly didn't know till like a week before I was retiring where he was taking me. I mean, it literally was, and it all happened to do with a hummingbird, which now I'm going to tell you with a hummingbird. Okay. So during this time of 2 years ago, me spending more time with him, I'm on my knees in my living room looking out or praying out I guess I have a glass door to my backyard and I'm on my knees and I'm praying to him. And I open up my eyes and right in front of me is a hummingbird. It's just fluttering. If the window wasn't there, I could have touched it. Okay. It was a remarkable. And since then I've got hummingbirds just constantly coming to me, constantly. I mean, I kid you not, yesterday, 5 different times, hummingbirds coming up right up to my window, out my bedroom window. I'm opening up and they're right there.
Wow.
Today, one came up specifically and literally it wasn't just like fluttering around out there. It literally was up at my window, kind of like almost like looking for me or looking for somebody. I've had them, I go on for walks in the morning and I have to stop my walk because one comes and flutters right in front of me. These are great segues for people because I went to, my son Omar took me to a friend of his during COVID. We're at their house and the garage door is open and he's not a believer, I think. And we're just speaking and we're talking and here comes a hummingbird right into the garage, literally steps right in the garage and just fluttering right there. The man is amazed going, I've never had this happen here. And I'm like, oh, let me tell you my hummingbird story.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's a constant. I mean, people's homes that I go, oh, where's your hummingbird? We don't have hummingbirds. And I'm like going, yeah, I saw your hummingbird last time I was here. I was out in the morning, out there early. Okay.
Yeah.
I was here. And sure enough, that same day we're playing cornhole. The hummingbird comes flying right past us. I go, there's your hummingbird. So anyway, back to the hummingbird was 2 years ago. I heard him say, look for a hummingbird logo. Okay. So I'm thinking my next job's a hummingbird logo. Anyway, it happened to be with a certain school that I'm starting to take classes for. And they gave me a whole list of schools so I can research. And when I did, I kind of go, oh, I like that one. I think that's the one. And I open it up and their logo is a purple hummingbird.
Wow.
Anyway, so let me go back. So now we're in COVID time. Okay. COVID, I'm sorry. I know COVID was crazy. I know it's been terrible for a lot of people. I think it's been a blessing for me in the sense that I have grown so much. Okay. Spiritually connected, emotionally. I mean, I have just grown. And that's when I started to like connect more or just seek him more, seek the Lord more. And now my dreams started to morph. My dreams are in color, in numbers, like people's names, people, smells, sounds. And I've learned how to now start deciphering, obviously with the Holy Spirit, okay, to decipher them, but also biblically, okay, find the background biblically of what is the meaning of that, whatever I saw, the vacuum that I saw the other night. What was the meaning of it? Okay. And what does the Bible say about it? What does the Bible say about this? So, and through that process, I've learned who to pray for. Okay. Or certain events that were happening. Okay. To avoid. I don't want to say avoid, like I had any action. It was always God, but I'll tell you one time I was in a dream. I was told of somebody that was, I guess, well, I wanted to say hurt himself, commit, with a knife. Okay.
Right.
Kill himself with a knife. Okay. And I woke up and immediately go, oh, 2:00 in the morning. And I know who this person. And so I'm like, I'm texting because we have a connection here. I was able to text him. I think you need to pray over your house. Just had a dream. And so I'm praying about all day for this. 5:00 in the afternoon. I'm saying, I get a call. Is this about so-and-so? Because he wants to kill himself. Okay.
Jeez.
You know what? That and alone is a miracle, that whole story. And thank you, Lord, has a great end. I mean, it's still processing, a work in progress for all of us.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. But this person is now, thank God, alive and well and praying for other people, and just a whole different lifestyle. Okay. Thank God.
Yeah.
Anyway, another thing that I've been showered with recently are doves. And I don't know if I've told you, Dan, like doves started coming during COVID. I mean, no, I'm on the backyard and they're in the backyard. They're walking past the backyard. They're on the roof. Okay. Now I can see them. I can open up my window and they're there. And I just can I think that those are those love signs for God, for me. Okay. Yeah. I think God speaks to everybody different ways. And I do believe that he speaks. It may not be a voice that's saying, don't, or whatever, or go buy this, or go do this. Okay. But I do think it as a way of I like to call that as a way of a meditation kind of thing. Okay. Yeah. You spend some quiet time with him. You listen. You just are listening to his inner voice in you. Okay. Yeah. One of the great things that also happened during COVID is we started praying with the group every morning via Zoom. Mm-hmm. And I always heard about speaking in tongues, and I thought, oh, I want that. Yeah. But I never, I would go, okay, I want it. But I honestly didn't believe it. Okay. I had a block mentally going, that's kind of way out there. That's not for me. Okay. Well, one morning during prayer time, here I am, and we're praying, and all of a sudden I'm speaking in tongues. I'm praying in tongues. And I'm like, did that just come out? You know? Yeah. And it was just natural and normal. And it's a beautiful feeling, because when I now can go to, if I'm having hard days, nights, or whatever, because my go-to is when I'm having a hard night or hard day, I'll go home, I'll go to sleep. And as I'm sleeping, I'm thanking God for everything. I'm thanking him for the toilets. I'm thanking him for running water. I'm thanking him for my hairstylist. I'm thanking him for all kinds of stuff. I don't care. My mind just keeps going and going and going until I have that peace and go to sleep. But also I have found that when something starts to come into my life and starts to process, it starts to bother me mentally. Yeah. I can go to and also start praying in tongues. And just a moment for myself, because it's all it is the Holy Spirit praying for me. Okay. That's all it is. And I start feeling a peace, a relaxation. Awesome.
So I'm listening to the conversation here, and you've gone from a really significant journey, again, fatherless, single mother, lots of responsibility, while mom was trying to deal with herself and working to provide for you guys, learning some horrible news of being the product of rape and stuff, and then, but that was then. And right now, hindsight is always 2020. So you can look back and you can see where God was still there with you during all those times. But at that moment in time, I'm going to assume that you didn't see the cup as half full.
No, like I said, it was a work in progress, a lot of work in progress.
And during those times, though, when the cup was half empty, how did you survive even during that time?
Well, I don't know as a kid, because as a kid, I already had a lot of those issues with me thinking that I was unwanted. Yeah. And I think my surviving that was being able, that there was an open door, that I had that other family in Nicaragua that I was able to not only that I had other friends and families that actually kind of like adopted me. All right. And I was able to have them help me out and talk to me and mentor me. But as a youth, I didn't handle it very well. I mean, like I said,
well, again, what is rebellion? It's you're against something. And obviously you were angry against things that were in your life, right? The things that had, and again, you talked about even the voices, the be still stuff, a lot of that still comes back to, obviously we're faith-based, but for those that aren't faith-based that might be listening to this, I firmly believe that there's good and there's evil in the world. Yes. Right. And I believe evil comes in the form, evil has a master, and it's called Satan, and good has a God, and his name is God. Right. But the voices inside your head were the voices that were trying to tell you of yourself, your self-doubt, and making you feel limited in what you were capable of, not making you feel worthy. And all those negative voices were not voices that were coming from God. Yeah, you didn't choose what you were born into. You know what I mean?
Right. It
just what came upon you. But eventually you were able to start to make choices that turned away from those things, right? And to say that, you know what, the negative things I'm feeling. I mean, I was even surprised, even what you're saying, that you still somewhat maintained an understanding of that there was a God, that you weren't even rebelling against God per se. Yeah, you may have not had an active faith life or something like that, but it wasn't like you had totally rejected the idea of a God, and so I think. And the reason I'm saying all this is because a lot of people right now are going through things, right, where there's hopelessness in their life. And hopelessness is a direct correlation to brokenness, right? When things are broken in our lives, we become very hopeless. And the glimpses of hope, and I've said this on this podcast, is yet I want somebody, if you're going through something right now and you just don't have the ability to find it, borrow my hope. And you were able to borrow the hope of those families that adopted you and mentored you. You were able to borrow the hope of your grandmother, and you were able to lean into her hope. And so those are the things that kind of propelled you and carried you through those difficult times in your life. It wasn't because you had found this amazing hope and anchored in Christ, but it was because you found this hope, or at least a glimmer of hope, in just somebody paying attention to you and actually showing some love towards you. And I say that because I want to encourage people that are listening. This is why it's so important for us to be positive lights in the world that we live in today. We have the capacity to change the environment, to change the atmosphere by just beginning to love one another like we're supposed to.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to you, is because somebody showed you love. That love, even though you didn't pull you right away into a faith relationship, it sustained you and it carried you and it prevented you from going down a path that could have led to destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a very powerful thing. And what's amazing now, like I said, you could go back and like I said, with the hindsight, you can say, hey, I see God at all these places now. And You're 100% right. It was this family. It was my grandma. It was this person, and so now it's birds, so, so I think it's great, that we're seeing all that, I know you share a lot, and a lot of people didn't know this, the camp that you worked with the girls that were in the correctional facilities.
Uh-huh.
And, but any girl that's struggling right now that maybe is part of a single parent environment, where there's or maybe that, learn that they were a result of something that was maybe not a positive, because you're not an uncommon situation. Lots of babies have been born out of situations that your mom experienced. And so what would you say is, just as a word of encouragement for them, to help bring hope to that person today who actually tuned in and listened?
Well, if they have a relationship, first of all, with God, okay, then I would say to cling to the Bible verse that says, I think it's Jeremiah, that says, now I don't have it right now.
The plans he has for you. Yeah.
But no, then it's the one about that he knew you in your mother's womb.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That he knew you. And that meant a lot to me. And because looking back, I mean, I didn't realize that if he had that plan for me, and he already knew me and loved me then and was taking care of me. Now that I could look back and see it, okay. And yeah, I'm older and I can look back, and maybe this person, whoever's listening, is younger and you can't, okay. But you can see by other people's lives, like for example, my life or somebody else, if there's anybody that can mentor, or you have seen this, that there is a plan, okay? And there are no mistakes. I don't believe that there are coincidences. I don't believe mistakes. I guess I want to say is that there is a purpose for God's, for our life, okay? And that really helped me to know that I was loved already, okay? Even though I had a father that didn't want anything to do with me, okay, or my mother that probably had to remember these memories and when she saw me, okay, yeah. And to this day I have a great relationship with her. I mean, we have a really good relationship, but to know that I had a father that actually is watching over me and protecting me and guiding me. And not until I was able to really, I mean, it took years, and I still challenge over my, like, even through my marriage. And like I said, not even till my old age now, older age, that I actually was able to, I guess, surrender and just say, I can't do this on my own. I can't live this life on going through thinking that I have it all under control, or, and so it comforted me. And I hope that brings comfort to you to know that you are loved, you are wanted.
Yeah.
There is a plan and a purpose. And the more you hang on to that, the more you seek it, the more you seek the Father, and just spend time with him, and start off just by praying. A prayer that is, there's nothing big about it. You don't have to have elegant words. I definitely do not. Okay. And like I used to tell the girls at the detention center, I remember if one was to say, to start off with saying, hey, you know, and go, hey, dude, why are you, like, okay, you know, just start. Just start.
Did you, just out of curiosity, did you have to go back ever, and I, you know, maybe at some point in your life, did you have to forgive your father?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to forgive my father. I had to go back and I forgave my mother. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've had to forgive. I mean, I've had men try to rape me. I've had, you know, I've had a family member molest me. Okay. I mean, at a young age. Yeah. And I grew up, I had that shame with me, thinking it was me. Okay. What did I do? Okay. What did I do wrong, or what happened? You know, and I had to go back and forgive. And it doesn't mean I had to be that person's friend, or go back and associate with that person or anything. But the reason, the forgiveness was such a key thing, because it eats you alive when you don't forgive. Those thoughts and those memories and those things. Okay. And this person is off living their life, doing whatever they want to do. But I was still caged in that life, in those memories.
Yeah.
And as soon as I forgave, I was able to, like, release it, basically, and not dwell on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a key point, because again, and I think you just said it, but you know, I always heard it said that unforgiveness is the poison you drink, hoping the other person dies. And it's like, it's just killing you. That other person doesn't even know your feelings or thoughts. And so you need to do that in order to do that. The other thing is too, is in those situations where you had these, you were a victim, don't get me wrong, but you had the choice to determine, do I continue to be a victim, or do I choose to step into my purpose and become victorious? Yeah. And I think that's the position for all of us in whatever our circumstance. And the only way you can make that switch from victim to victor is by finding hope.
Oh, I totally believe. And during that time of that deep depression that I was going through, that was one of the things that really helped me get through it, because I know the Bible verses that spoke about, I think it's in Ephesians or Philippians, that speaks about what is true, what is noble, the thoughts that are in your head. Okay. Yeah. And I had to make a choice. Do I continue to, what I used to say, wallow my self-pity? Yeah. Okay. Right. And every night just, you know, go put the covers over my sheet and just cry? Or do I choose to say enough? Yeah. No longer. And so I do. I go through life, and I wake up, and that's when I'm praying. I go, you know, you'll hear my prayers going, this is something, this is what I'm feeling, or this is, but I choose to do this. Yeah.
Well, I just got to say thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Marie.
Thank you so much for doing this and being a part of this. You know, again, this is our 10th episode, David?
Yes, I believe so.
I think it's our 10th episode. So, you know, congratulations. You're number 10.
That's a great number.
It is. So you're number 10. And I got to tell you, just to speak to the audience for a minute, if you really have liked these shows, please like them on whether the platform you're listening to us on, and give us any kind of comments, because honestly, it helps us to keep continuing to spread this message out there of hope. It's not about bragging about who we are. It's really about being able to bring hope into a place right now. And there's plenty of places that hope needs to be brought into. So if you could like this and give us a comment, we'd appreciate it. Anyways, everybody stay faithful and stay hopeful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.